from you a little bit later on. But just maybe in the interest of time, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're joining us from. It has been an amazing and intense 6 months, I think intense for our students on the Migration Governance and Diaspora Engagement Certificate Program. First of all, to just really thank all those that have been journeying with us. And without the students, indeed, we do not have a classroom that we can share, but also, I think from our side, also learn from. I think I could say this on behalf of the organizers, that we have not just brought tutors or resources into the space, but also we have had the opportunity to learn from the students. We have had even the opportunity to have some of the students come in as panelists on other related topics because of the kind of engagement that we see in the classroom. And with a recording on, once again, to just welcome you to the graduation ceremony for the certificate program on Migration, Governance, and Diaspora Engagement. Thank you to all our organizers, and by the organizers, I recognize the Global Research Forum on Diaspora and the Global Research Forum on Diaspora and Transnationalism, iDiaspora, ADEPT, and CSUN, for organizations that not having worked alone. I think we have reached out to all the ends of our networks, as one would say. Really privileged that we also have IOM here with us, that is hosting the iDiaspora, and just putting that out as we'll go through our agenda in a little moment. And really to thank also any of the experts, professionals, scholars who have been with us on this journey to provide lectures, or those who have also just been with us in terms of sitting in the classroom, engaging with students, and those many that students have reached out to through the group assessment, a journey that one will attest was an experiment, and a good experiment, because not only do we have a number of people that managed to journey with us, but also went through and have some papers that we'll be going through for publication. So we have something to show for it. But most of all, I think we have something to show in terms of the quality of engagement that took place in each of the lectures that was present here, and the quality that we have seen in most of the papers that have been shared with us. So thank you again to the students for your diligence, for trusting us with the process and trusting our methods in delivering this certificate program. So today we hope to spend about 1.5 hours in this celebratory mode. Very happy that we have our guest speaker with us, and also we have other speakers that are joining us. We'll be hearing some welcoming remarks shortly. I will introduce the speaker, and then we'll have Professor Camila Tigao to introduce our inaugural speaker, who will deliver the inaugural address. Professor Parvati Nair is here joining us as our guest speaker, and then we will hear from the students, some reflections from the ground, from their experiences, and then we will go ahead and do some presentation, some virtual presentation of the certificate. We wish we could see people dressed in gowns, or how it would be in a more physical space, but we will try and make it as celebratory as we can on the virtual platform. We're also looking forward then to get some remarks from at least 2 of the organizations that are behind the scenes, and then we will do a closing. Professor Bernard will give us some closing remarks and a vote of thanks offered by Dr. Saho. So with that, let me just welcome Dr. Marina Manke, the head of the Labor, Mobility and Human Development Division at the International Organization for Migration, to give us the opening remarks. Marina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Pidi. It's a pleasure to be here. And oh my God, how the world changed since the last years and decades. So graduation and virtual graduation ceremony, gowns or no gowns. I still remember my graduation in 2003 from Cambridge, where and the whole gown wearing, and then the bending, and really accepting that honor of really becoming a scholar scholar of that university. Our course, of course, was not a fully fledged graduate course. It was a certificate program, but that was a program on a topic which is so dear to everybody, and I think so modern and so relevant for the world we live in. So not only because the modality of the course, the way how we organized it being digital and really offering a possibility to bring students across the world, but also the topic, the focus is migration governance, the focus on diaspora engagement, on transnationalism, is the future is there. So it is something which is going to continue uniting societies, creating new modalities of work, of life, of economies. It is already happening and will only increase. So it's absolutely important that all of us embrace the knowledge about human mobility and migration, regardless of what kind of discipline we are studying. And maybe, of course, to really keep up the spirit of this momentum of celebration today, I wanted also to say just a few words. First of all, thanks, words of thanks to all the partners with whom we pulled our resources and teams together. I know that, of course, my colleague Larissa Lara, who is on leave, and then she would have been here. She herself was also engaged in delivering certain parts of the course, but also we mobilized a number of other IM colleagues who were also with the students in various functions and deliver on different topics, because migration governance diaspora is a very overarching topic for our organization, International Organization for Migration. So many thanks to everybody who partnered with us. So we look forward to hearing especially for the feedback and the results, how effective we were in delivering knowledge to the students across the world, and how effective we were by tapping into each other's comparative advantages in bringing knowledge and resources together. So, and let's see, look into the future, whether we want and how we want to replicate and strengthen our collaboration. And of course, for that, the fact that we'll be listening from the students is marvelous. Maybe another point, in addition to gratitude, I would like to say a few words about the historical momentum we are right now in the world of migration governance. As you know, we are counting days ahead of the International Migration Forum review, which is happening in New York on the 17th to 20th of May. So I do advise everybody to really monitor the content of that forum. I do believe and hope that all the UN partners, all other partners, civil society are engaging in this forum, which is a possibility to review the progress reached on migration governance at global level since the adoption of the Global Compact for Migration in Marrakesh in 2018. So do watch out for all the proceedings within the General Assembly formal program, but also we are just informed that there will be around 50 side events devoted to various topics where different stakeholders are bringing their knowledge, their updates, because the forum is to review the progress made in the last 4 years, but also is an opportunity to look forward in terms of what else needs to be done in terms of coordination and collaboration around migration governance and diaspora. Another update, maybe very briefly, on the successful Global Diaspora Summit, which we have finished on the 4th to the 6th, so actually 1st to the 5th of April. So this is an undertaking we've done together in partnership with the government of Ireland, and we have 20 countries who subscribe to the Dublin Declaration centered around Objective 19, which is about diaspora engagement. That is another anchor of the course about mobilization of engagement of diaspora communities. And I do advise you to really look into the text of the declaration, because it's not only highlighting the importance of working in diaspora, it's also paving the road of what governments should be doing moving ahead on specifically that objective related to migrants' contributions, that is Objective 19. So we also will have a side event presenting the results of the summit and many other exciting events. So please do not miss an opportunity to continue increasing your knowledge on migration governance, diaspora, diaspora through attending virtually the events. And some of you may be in person, depending whether you are a stakeholder who managed to register with ECOSOC. I think I'll stop here. Very, very happy to listen to the rest of the program. And also, of course, in case I need to step out, so looking forward to stay in touch with the rest of you, and then also by social contact, social media, feel free to approach me via LinkedIn. I'm really happy to connect with anybody, and maybe a little bit of announcement to everybody. So finally, actually in a few weeks, I will be moving to a new position in our organization to head the Global Migration Data Analysis Center in Berlin. So while I have been covering thematically this area, so I will remain working in our organization now in a new capacity of data. And data research is something very, very crucial for all our work and collaboration. So I hope that we'll stay in touch in that new capacity from June, mid-June onwards. I'll stop here, Patty. Over to you.
Apologies for that, Dr. Marina. Well, first off, congratulations on that appointment from the body of research. You can imagine how exciting that news comes forth. We have always known that we have your ultimate support, even visibly, even through Dr. Larissa Lara's engagement here on the program, but even beyond. And also an extended congratulations for the just ended Global Diaspora Summit. That indeed was quite a success, and we have been looking forward to hearing about deliberations following this. So we're hoping also for some of the students that have taken forth to study and understand a little bit more deep on diaspora engagement, that remains indeed one of the key documents looking forward. So thank you very much for your support, and thank you very much for being here today. And next in the program, I'd like to invite Professor Camelia Tigao, who, for us, I would say she doubles first as a vice president for JRFDT, and in this particular case, she will be speaking in her capacity from the Center for Research on North America, which is at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, and in short, we always say CISAN, for her to give us a flavor of what it's been in the last 6 months, but also to introduce our inaugural speaker. Professor Camelia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Patty. I'm kind of sad to be here 1 year afterwards, because we were planning this course, the start of the Migration and Diaspora Governance course with colleagues from many parts of the world 1 year ago. We planned with colleagues from India, Switzerland, Denmark, and Zambia, the US and Belgium, for organizing institutions that represent this 1.5 track 2 or track 1.5 collaboration. And we've had a really successful course. I believe this variety has translated into a diverse course in terms of the academic offer and the students involved. During the 6 months, we had many students' participations, enriching questions, perspectives. We had 40 sessions, that is about 80 hours of outstanding conferences on varied topics: migration and development, migration data, statistics, migration policy, multilateral organizations, the GCM crisis and humanitarian response, migration and law, diaspora engagement, and I'm just naming a few. So I would like to congratulate to all our students for bearing with us, for their time and mind investment, for their hard work, and above all, for those who took the challenge to write a final essay, original one. Not all of those who enter are graduating today, I'm sorry to say, but many of you are celebrating a new level of expertise, and I'm very happy about it. We have all participated in a big social and academic experiment as part of the first edition of the course. Maybe those who left us, maybe our control group, tell us about our errors and virtues. Their absence, in the same way as missing migrants, does not mean disappearance, but an alarm alert for what needs to be done in the future. Maybe I would say teaching migration is a tricky task, as all the cross-cutting topics that are of high interest day to day. Migration is on the front pages of all the media. Every day, new information is coming out. So we never really get to be up to date with what is happening out there. So, how then should we separate the circumstantial from the long-term analysis? When is theory more important than what is the role of up-to-date empirical evidence? I know many of you are in the vortex of daily interaction with migrants and refugees. I've talked to some of my groups. I had this privilege and they told me about their experience. I would say the purpose of migration governance as a subdiscipline in migration studies may be appreciated as a way to further rationalize the efforts to deal with migration, not as a problem, but as an opportunity for development and cultural learning. When we talk of governance, we also situate the puzzle as international responsibility to protect, a global and translocal task. We really appreciate your commitment, dedication, and patience with all our errors. We learned from you, as Patty said, and promise to improve for the second edition of this course. I would like to thank all my colleagues who have enthusiastically given up their Saturdays or part of their Saturdays, sometimes Sundays also, to organize this course, provide reflections, read final papers, and deliver classes. I will just name a few who are here: Professor Binod Kadria, Professor Raj, our enthusiastic leaders, Paddy and Sadananda, Larissa, Karin, she's not here today, but we thank her, Rakesh, Feroz, Abhishek, and many others who are behind the scenes, but I know they are there. Okay, I will not take more time from you, just a few minutes to present our last guest speaker, also an intimate friend of our GRFDT, Professor Parvati Nair. Professor Nair has a PhD by the University of London. She is a professor of Hispanic, Cultural and Migration Studies and the head of the School of Languages. And she is currently a member of the leadership team of Global Policy Institute at Queen Mary, a senior advisor on Resilience Futures India Initiative. She is a prolific writer. Please take time to review some of her work. Her work, Verses on Migration, Human Mobility, Forced or Otherwise. Her research interests lie on the nexus of cultural studies and migration studies, with a special focus on visual representations of migration and displacement. Her background is in Hispanic studies, starting with her doctoral work on the concept and practices of community in Spain. Her writing has taken a more comparative and transnational focus, considering questions of human mobility in the context of globalization and transnational connections. Her work is interdisciplinary, as you may imagine, and she often employs methodologies that combine critical theory with ethnography. I would just name some of her books. A Different Light, The Photography of Sebastião Salgado, published by Duke University Press. Another one is in Spanish, Rumbo al Norte, Inmigración y Movimientos Culturales entre el Magreb y España, 2006. Configuring Community Theories, Narratives, and Practices of Community Identities in Contemporary Spain. She also co-edited 3 books and wrote in scientific journals around the world. So, Professor Nair, a pleasure to have you here with us today. Bienvenida, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that extraordinarily generous introduction to the wonderful students that I have had, I have known about, and also the wonderful organizers. It's a real honor for me to be here. I don't deserve such an introduction, and I'm grateful to you, Dr. Camilla, for that. But my thanks, of course, go first to Mr. Yanga for this wonderful opportunity for me to meet and listen to, and also briefly learn from the many students and colleagues who have been involved in this wonderful program of activity and learning and education on migration, which is so needed. And I'm very, very honored to be here, to be with the organizers, and iDiaspora, at ADEPT, of course, CSAN, and GRFDT, who are my close and dear friends and former partners in a project last year. So I would like to say that firstly that I am really very inspired by the fact that so many students out there in the world have wished to be engaged in knowing more and studying more about the topic of migration governance and diaspora engagement. This, I believe migration to be one of the great, and I'm not the only one, I think we all agree that migration is one of the great global phenomena of our times, more than of previous times, but it is indeed an enduring facet of humanity on Earth. And diaspora engagement in the contemporary world is, of course, an absolutely vital aspect of determining good governance for migration. So I think this is a very it's a very inspiring thing to know that there are people out there in the world who are interested in this topic, wish to engage with it, and will take what they have learned and put it to good use in the months and years ahead. And it's an important topic because we live in a globally interconnected world. We live in a world where there is intense, cross traffic, if you like, of commerce, connections through technology and finance. And nothing has taught us about this interconnectivity of the world more and better than the pandemic, which, literally I remember in December 2019 reading about it as something happening in China and thinking it was very far away from me here in London. And of course, look where we are now. All of us, have been affected one way or another by this pandemic. But we have not been affected equally by it. Some of us have had more access to vaccines, some of us have had less, some of us have had better healthcare, others have had less. And in and through all of this, we have people on the move as an aspect, a fundamental aspect, not only of moving because out of despair or because there is a need to move, but also because people on the move is a vital aspect of keeping the world as we know it on the move. And there are these great gaps, great inequalities through which people transit and sometimes become encamped, questions of inequalities of power, imbalances that are at one and the same time historical, geographical, and also economic. So my brief talk today will be on the political dynamics of migration management, and where better to start than in this country where I'm located right now, where I live and work, which is the UK. As you probably know, the UK has been much in the news in recent weeks because of a proposed deal with Rwanda. And indeed, I think this deal or this proposal is an excellent example of why when we talk about how migration is governed or managed, we also must, in the same breath, twin it with an awareness and understanding of questions around how nation states view and the international community views the questions of development. Because both, if you like, are situated within certain shared frameworks. And those are the frameworks that arise from the legacies, historical legacies that endure in the present day of colonialism and empire, which have been refashioned, if you like, within the context of neoliberal democracies, as they're called, and within these frameworks. The UK Rwanda deal for me is a very good example of this. And it has been somewhat, while it has been in the news in the last few weeks, it has been somewhat superseded by even, to me, even more worrying news yesterday, which is that the UK Parliament voted in favor of criminalizing undocumented migrants. And the only next step to turn this into law is a yes from the Queen of this country. Now, the UK, if you like, has a long history of receiving people. But in the last few decades, I think one could say literally, the past 30 years, there has been a serious escalation, if you like, a tightening of the barriers and obstacles. So border policy has been a key aspect of national and international policy for the UK. The very thought that undocumented people, many of them asylum seekers coming to the UK, might be deemed as criminals, detained and imprisoned, as well as devoid of papers, is deeply worrying. And I know that international agencies and the international community have already begun to point out that this is a fundamental proposal that fundamentally runs counter to international refugee protection law, to which the UK is a signatory. And of course, also counter to the Global Compact for Refugees, which was formed alongside the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration. So it runs also counter to the UK's history and trajectory of sanctuary. And this news comes on top of the UK-Rwanda deal, which is being proposed at the moment. And the deal is that asylum seekers, undocumented asylum seekers arriving in the UK, and many of these in recent years and months have been coming from across the channel. They've been coming from places like Calais, and many of them were people who have spent years or months living in abject conditions in Europe, have been trying to come to the UK to seek asylum. The proposed deal is that these people, and predominantly single males, will be taken on a one-way ticket 5,000 miles away to Rwanda, where their cases will be considered and processed. If accepted, they will be expected to remain in Rwanda for at least 5 years. And the idea is that it is what they call a one-way ticket, in that if these people do not wish to remain in Rwanda, they will need to find their way forward in the world. And as to what happens to people who do not get their cases approved, one does not know as yet. So what is interesting for me in this deal is not the fact that it is happening, because in a way, the outsourcing of migration management is certainly not new. There are deals and agreements in place between the EU, the European Union, and certain parts of Africa. Australia, as well, as we know, has been housing its asylum seekers, refugees, and migrants in Papua New Guinea and other places. So there are precedents to this practice. But what is curious and new and interesting is the way in which the UK government has framed this deal and presented it to the UK public as not only a way of managing unwanted migration, but also of assisting poorer countries in development. And so there has been a twinning of migration and development in a very, very overt way. And of course, this is particularly interesting if we bear in mind that the UK, and I think the UK is by no means the only country, but certainly it has made serious cuts to its budget for foreign aid. So while foreign aid has been seriously reduced, migration and the movements and arrivals of undocumented migrants and future refugees, asylum seekers, has become, if you like, a tool in the ways in which The UK, a country with a strong imperial past, as we know, and one of the major sort of economic powers of the world, engages with poorer parts of the world and parts of the developing world. So we see, therefore, this very interesting engagement between richer countries and poorer countries, and we see that migrants and the undocumented become, in a way, a pawn, if you like, in a wider international strategy. So who are these people at the core of these processes? As I said, they say that they will be mainly male and unaccompanied or single. They come from developing countries, countries which often have suffered or are suffering a mix of poverty, a relative lack of infrastructure and opportunities compared to countries of the global north. They may be places which have suffered conflict or are in post-conflict situations, countries which have suffered also environmental degradation or crises, and therefore have a combination, a very difficult cocktail, if you like, of issues to deal with. And this harks back, if you like, to some work that I've done in the past, which is really to argue that, yes, while the concept of the refugee is a legal concept and there is a legal framework that supports the refugee and puts obligations on the state for the refugee, nevertheless, in terms of lived everyday realities, there are serious overlaps between the people who are categorized by governments as migrants and people who are categorized as refugees. And that has to do with conditions and situations of extreme vulnerability, risk, and insecurity. These are people, the people who have been living, for example, and continue to live in heavily policed cities like Calais across the Channel in France. People who are often from post-conflict countries such as Afghanistan, or are from Syria, or from Iraq, and many other places. But one also wonders, why would a country like Rwanda, why do the countries of the global south or the countries in processes of development engage in such deals? If you look at Rwanda, for example, it's a country which has suffered, as we all know, a terrible genocide in the 90s. And since then, it has been a country that is hosting a very large number of refugees. And we shouldn't forget, of course, that the vast majority of displaced peoples and people who are refugees are in what we call the global south. It's a country that has been dependent on foreign aid and has suffered from some of the cuts in foreign aid. It has major development needs. It has refugees. It has about 130 million refugees already, or 130,000 refugees already in the country. And it is about to receive, if this deal goes through, 120 million pounds, which will, of course, be of great use to the government and people of Rwanda. But what is in it for the UK? Because this is a country with an aging population. It's a country with a public sector that is lacking a workforce, especially since Brexit. So the NHS, for example, has become, greatly weakened, not only by the demands of the pandemic, but also, if we look at it, the fact that there is no proper provision for sick people because of a shortage, for example, in nurses and healthcare workers. It's a country which has been willing to create legal pathways for the refugees coming from Ukraine. And the government has had a very open, very, very clear policy to openly support local families, for example, in hosting Ukrainian refugees. And clearly then, why is it that they do not want these people who are coming from Africa, from Asia, and from the Middle East? Why are they not wanting these people here when they're willing to take in the Ukrainians, who are, of course, fellow Europeans? I would propose that this be considered within the framework of what we call 21st century imperialism. But it is also part of a strategy that is important for the UK, because the UK has a great interest in Africa. In 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, the UK held the Africa-UK Investment Summit, and a very strong aspect of the government's foreign policy has been increased investment in Africa. This is because Africa may have many countries that are relatively economically disadvantaged, but it is a continent full of youth and very rich in resources, in natural resources. I would say that this form of investment in Africa is therefore, and interest in Africa is a kind of prospecting that is going on that is happening under the aegis of the term development. It is the idea, of course, is that while deals will be done, there will be investment in Africa, but that investment will ultimately benefit the investors, as all investments are meant to do. The idea is that the profits from construction, from other projects in Africa will ultimately flow back to the UK more than it will to the people of Africa. So we are talking here about Rwanda as a country that is extremely rich in metals and gas, and that could be, and this is just a suggestion on my part, that could be one of the reasons why there is this interest in Rwanda. But we are certainly talking about unequal partnerships constructed to further, not lessen, the existing inequalities in global development. And at the heart of that empowerment strategy of formal imperial powers like the UK are these disempowered and displaced people without documentation who are seeking asylum for a better life. And here we can find some colonial echoes, if you like, that go back in time, go back in centuries to slavery, to the movement of indentured workers by colonial powers from one part of the globe to the other. And we also see that the outsourcing of migration management to the global south is very much about a certain power strategy and colonial politics at play. So I will stop here because the time is coming up. I think we have a lot to talk about. We may agree, we may disagree, but I want to end by congratulating you on completing this certificate, on thanking the organizers of this program and this course of study, to say it is an absolutely fantastic and much needed initiative. And I would also say that, yes, it's sad that we cannot all be in one place, but I also think it's wonderful that we don't have to be in the same place and we can connect and learn from one another. I'm looking forward to your questions, and I will end by wishing you all the very best for your next steps in life, and I hope you will remain always engaged and proactive in making migration humane, safe, and dignified for all of us in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Professor Parvati, on those reflections, very timely. And I think always just coming back to what are the central themes here happening around us today. Dr. Marina rightly pointed towards the direction of the road towards the IMRF. And then around us, we do see crisis coming up, but we also see certain solutions that are coming up in terms of how migration is being governed. Not just at the global level, the directions that are coming from there, but also from the regional influences, and also what that actually translates in terms of migrants' lives, the impact of migrants' lives on the ground. So thank you for really just diving into that and the different connections. I think that students will agree that in a lot of ways, we have enjoyed to unpack, well, not enjoyed because of the nature of the subject, but I think more so because of the issues that have to be unpacked that remain a challenge, and therefore really delighted that you could dive into the issue that you presented on today. I wonder whether, because we are really around research institutions and great thinkers in this room, so I will ask also for some reflections, just turning a little bit around. I know the students are ready to share in their reflections, but I guess it will be a good moment for us to also just hear from others in the room some reactions. So our guest speaker, I will invite, again, if I may, Professor Binod Kadria, the president of GRFDT. And then after that, Dr. Marina Manke, if I can also ask you to give some of your reflections to the discussion that has been opened very briefly indeed. And I don't know if Mirana is here from Adept to join us and also sharing those reflections before we will close the inaugurate part. Professor Binod.
Thank you. Thank you, Paddy. I think I'm doing the job of the night watchman. I thought I will come at the end, but thank you for giving me this opportunity. It is a fascinating ceremony today, starting with Marina Manke referring to the IMRF and the challenges that are lying ahead in a less than a month's time for us to discuss, and of course, flagging the very first objective as her responsibility, her new role of data management and moving to Berlin. So I wish her all the best in her new role, to join my friend Frank Lasko there, if he is still there. Then he's not there. She is, perhaps he has done his innings. So
I will be taking his job. He's retiring.
Okay,
that's
yes, that's what I expected.
So he's still there, but until end of May, and that's the change.
Excellent. So I will still have a friend there in that position to look after the that task, which is objective number one, as you have rightly pointed out. I think it is extremely important that we keep in mind the references that you made to Ireland, the diaspora dialogue. I was in TCD, the Trinity College Dublin, in 2013, and that's when Ireland had organized the gathering when most of the Irish diaspora people had, landed back in Ireland. So that was something which was perhaps the beginning of this movement in Ireland. And I think your reference to the dialogue is very important from that point of view. I am also reminded of the points that my colleague, Vice President of GRFDT, Professor Camelia, has mentioned in terms of tracing the evolution of this particular course in terms of 80 hours that she mentioned, which is the input that has been given by the participants on both sides, those who were learners, the students or participants, and those who actually provided the lectures and other sharing of their wisdom. I think this was a great learning process for a win-win situation for all of us, and that I think is the takeaway for me from this 6 months course that had taken place there. It has also been mentioned by the keynote address today by my friend Parvati Nair, which was absolutely fascinating. And I was wondering actually and sharing with Paddy how Parvati is going to address this absolutely, something which is absolutely fresh and new and shocking at the same time, which is not being talked about much, not even known much about. And that, I think, is absolutely important in terms of the discourses. Rather, I should not use that term and say, rather, the discussion that has taken place at IMRF in terms of the town hall meetings that the two representatives of the United Nations have conducted. That's where I think I heard a lot of voices in saying that the migrants, IMRF should be a holistic initiative in terms of talking about the refugees, and we cannot leave out the refugees. So this is where I find that some kind of an interface of issues that you have highlighted in this keynote address is extremely, extremely important. And I picked up some terms that have been used, and you said migration should be humane, safe, and dignified. That I think is absolutely important rather than calling it safe, orderly, and regular. It is ironical that regularization has not been included, has not been addressed. And we heard another distinguished member of the migration expertise, Professor Elizabeth Ferris, yesterday, who said that regularization, detention, and all these, hot issues have been kept at the margin. That I think is highlighted by today's address that you have mentioned. So I think we need to understand this from the point of view of the outsourcing of the migration management to the global south. And I'm wondering, what are the risks involved? The risks involved 120 million pounds that will be given as a fee, so to say, for migration management. You referred to Australia's, the Papua New Guinea or the other island around the mainland, keeping them at arm's length rather than allowing them to come to their so-called mainland. That I think is the main issue that is involved. That you see, we have to agree and accept that migrants come with their own problems. That the challenge is to solve them, to minimize them, and not to keep them aside. And that's what I think what is interesting or important and scary about this kind of outsourcing, that you don't want to touch the migrants because they are coming with problems. And then what kind of panacea is being offered? That I think is extremely important. UK has perhaps not learned its lesson from the Brexit experience. That I think is absolutely important. The truck drivers, you mentioned about Calais, the migrants cross the English Channel, hiding in the trucks, and then risking life. Where is the safety? We call it safe, orderly, and regular migration. And I'm reminded of my own intervention in 2017 at the second thematic debate in the United Nations, when I jokingly said, I understand safe and regular migration, but what about orderly? And somebody said, a member of a nation, of a member state, said, orderly is just the opposite of disorderly. I could not but only laugh and say that that is practically, you cannot have it packed in, in regimentation, and people walk in 3x3 lanes to have it orderly. That I think we have to accept this. That is absolutely important from the citation that you have made about the Rwandan case of outsourcing. I think what you have highlighted extremely important is that it is dependency by development, that it is inequality through development. That I think is the paradox that we need to understand. And what role the diaspora, and I'll come back to Marina's point and Paddy's point here, that what role lies ahead for the diaspora? Is IMRF actually addressing and charting out the role for diaspora? Diaspora has played very important role in many of the development issues. In the Indian issues, the Indian diaspora had played the nuclear deal that had taken place between US and India for energy development was pushed by the Indian diaspora. So we need to understand this. This is objective number 19 that we see in the GCM. And objective number 19, the unique character of that objective is that the onus is not on the government, but on the migrants and the diaspora to optimize their contribution in both in destination and origin countries. I think it was a fantastic way to end this program with Professor Parvati Nayar's very sensitive address today, which I think is something that we all can carry back home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Vinod. Dr. Marina Manke.
Yes, I again apologize. I have scheduled the meeting, which will start in 10 minutes, but that's an exciting discussion. And I fully agree with you that It's the topic, and migration governance is and migration policy is a very sensitive area. It's a very charged area, and as we've seen around the signature of the Global Compact for Migration, if you remember December 2018, all of a sudden our trustworthy partners on whom we were relying, the governments of Switzerland, the governments of US, Australia, a number of countries who used to be working with us, over decades about the advocating for the positive impact of migration, and who have been benefiting from migration and immigration over decades, if not centuries. All of a sudden, they were not joining the course of the Global Compact. And some of the governments, if you remember the case of Belgium, also were really put on spot because of GCM, and a lot of the right-wing movement, which became very pronounced to really demonstrate that the GCM is actually going against national interests. Other countries back then, which were really basically not subscribing to the vision of the Global Compact. And the vision is really about better, not necessarily saying that migration governance should be all governed at the global level, but we recognize the sovereignty and of course the prerogative of national policy making. But at the same time, we do see the importance of sharing experiences and common course at the global level. And the vision of 300 degrees of the Global Compact is there. So we did perceive the signature of the compact as a huge step forward, even though maybe we haven't reached as far away as we want. But because it is a very charged political area, so we need to really embrace this kind of gradual approach. We do believe that it's important not to go against stakeholders, but really bring partners, governments with us, so that there is incremental improvement happens as we move forward. And it is really amazing because we work with governments every day. So I personally was also working with a country in a program which about readmission, and that's a very hardcore policy segment of migration policy, where we were really dealing with cases where foreigners didn't have a right to stay in the country where they arrived, and then there was an international agreement to return those migrants back to their countries of origin. And when we were working with the governments and the officials, it was interesting to see that they were not really coming in this situation from the perspective of basically not understanding the needs of migrants. No, they were definitely defending each single case of a child who was not finishing their school, but the child who really had no longer legal right to remain in the country for various reasons. And the right, as per international law, to reject this right to stay in the country if you are a foreigner, unfortunately, it is accepted by the international law, by the countries. That's the legal system. It's a very complex matter. What I want to just recognize that there are no easy solutions, but all the observations you were sharing, Professor Nair, are absolutely crucial, because in the end, it's not about law, it's not about papers, it's not about documents. It is about human fates. It's about families who are connected across borders, people who really are dying. And this is the missing migrant initiative that we have together with Jim Dark, counting those who are really dying. This cannot be happening. We have to really mobilize everybody across the world, countries of origin, destination, start tackling these things, but move beyond advocacy. It's important to advocate, it's important to draw the attention, but it's also important to go into concrete, tangible examples, how we start incrementally changing the situation. And for that matter, let me just share good news. You mentioned regularization is not a part of the Global Compact of IMRF. No, this is wrong, because the government of Ireland actually insisted that our joint side event within the IMRF, which will be taking place, and I'll share information, Larissa will share with you, it will be about diaspora, but also in the context of regularization, in the context of what the Irish government is doing right now to indeed improve the situation of undocumented migrants and give them the status. COVID taught us a lot, that a lot of irregular situations emerge not because migrants are so evil and want to break the law and not comply with the obligation. It's because situations are very much beyond their controls, and that's why regularization remains a viable policy option, which was really utilized a lot in Latin America, so in Colombia. So there are cases, and so our side event will be about diaspora, about the positive contributions, but also in the context of if those migrants are not included in a society, if they don't have legal status, there's no way how they can contribute to those societies. It's the benefit of everyone to ensure the safe and regular and orderly status, environment, and the availability of pathways. That's another message which we are advocating very strongly, to ensure that the pathways which exist are sufficient, because the demand for such regular pathways is huge. It's probably 10, if not 100 times more than the existing legal frameworks allows us for migrants to move. It's about also preparing migrants. So it's not about people moving, but also them being ready to really integrate into the labor market in a new environment. It's about language preparedness. It's about really going and really being empowered. When we were in Dublin, it was an amazing situation of meeting diaspora community leaders, a lot of them from African continent, to hear from them that how they are really finding themselves as representatives of diaspora organizations in a very good environment. Irish government leading on diaspora, but what concerns also diaspora residing in Ireland, it's not about mobilizing Irish diasporas, but also giving space for those stakeholders as civil society representatives, as really partners. And that's the message. That's why what you were sharing today is extremely crucial. We need to hear those messages more. I know that maybe the IMRF process is a bit too structured, too rigid, all these things. We are ourselves struggling to follow it, but I do hope that we continue to stay in touch. It's just another milestone. There will be next iteration, next 4 years. So let's ensure that the voice of civil society, diaspora, and all the concerns are really put upfront forward, so that we're not forgetting about them. So Paddy, I don't know if I managed to address those questions. I mean, the specific case, I cannot comment. I don't really have all the information, but good luck with the rest of the event. And again, congratulations to all who came to the level of graduation.
No, thank you, Dr. Marina Manke, for those words. And I think that reflection is exactly what we were also just looking out for. I think that there are a lot of topical issues. Of course, what is sitting in front of us most immediate is, for instance, the situation of people on the move from Ukraine as well. We could also pick up a lot of different points moving forward in terms of, for instance, just touching on how is the Temporary Protection Directive from the EU being really operationalized at that national level. So indeed, but we always take opportunity when we have, our eloquent speakers here with us to just have a moment of a discussion. It is a classroom mode, and I'm sure students are saying, did we just graduate or did we just start another course? So maybe you have given us actually enough. Professor Parvati, you have kicked off some food for thought. Professor Bernard, your reflections, and Dr. Marina Manke also on what we can be taking forward in terms of areas of study and research, what is coming together with advocacy. There's also a lot of talk of the disconnect also in this space as well, in terms of actors seeing themselves as silos, but indeed we are complementing to various efforts, and we can, we have many examples that can help us to understand how we can work better and draw from each other and have some synergy. So Dr. Marina Manke, thank you for joining us. We know you have to run, but thank you for being here today. Then also just to thank Professor Parvati for that inaugural address and the discussion that ensued with Professor Binod. And coming now to the ceremony itself, because we are in a celebratory mode, I would like to also just call upon we'll get some remarks just a little bit later on after this next step. We wanted to see if our students were ready to share some reflections from their side, and I will call upon 2 students. So Mr. George Mami, who is from Guinea and is based in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and also Dr. Iman Ahmed, who is sitting in Canada and comes from Sudan, and they will be sharing their reflections and experience from this course. Mr. George, shall we start with you first?
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Paddy, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizer for giving me this chance to address on the occasion of this graduation ceremony. I will also express my gratitude to all the experts, the scholars who supported this certificate program. And I will especially address my thanks to Mrs. Paddy, Dr. Larissa, Dr. Rakesh, and everyone. I didn't want to mention the names, not to forget the very important name, but please allow me to do so. And why I asked to intervene on this occasion is because this certificate program was very important to me. And I'm working as a consular officer at Guinea Embassy in Addis Ababa. And before attending this program, I was not really aware about how migrants suffer to attend the destination. And after attending this course, I think that I'm very well equipped. I can now understand better the situation, and I can also manage very well the case. And as you may be aware, most of the embassy consider migrants as troublemakers, because when they come to embassies, they ask a lot of documents, they put a lot of pressure, and then we consider them as troublemakers. But after this certificate, I understand very much the case, the situation, the condition, and I even started implementing the course on my community in Addis Ababa, because our embassy covers almost 7 countries in East Africa, including Tanzania, Uganda, Eritrea, Kenya, and all these East Africa countries. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for this opportunity that you give to us. And I would also like to express my gratitude to my classmates. Especially, I would like to thank Professor Pushpa, who was the leader of our group, for coordinating our group work and for all intervention. I really appreciated her participation. I learned a lot from her. Mrs. Paddy, if you allow me, I have one suggestion that I would like to make. Given
Absolutely.
This is a certificate program, I would like to know if you can assist students who would like maybe to continue the education on the master's or PhD level, so that you can increase, the ambassadors of migrant, if I can say so. Because starting from today, we can be seen as an ambassador of migrant, defending the rule and protecting them. So if you can also have that technical assistance to those who would like to continue the education at master's or PhD level. So that was my suggestion, and thank you again very much for this opportunity.
Mr. George, thank you for sharing from your experience and how useful this has been, and already talking about the use of the course in your work area. I will wish you all the best, and do feel free to come back to us if there are any areas we can enhance and support you as well. I think we will be coming back a little bit later in what the possibilities for the next steps would be as we take some time to reflect in the gap. But thank you for sharing in such a candid way from your side. Thank you. Dr. Iman?
Hi, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity to reflect on my experience with the course. I would like to start by thanking the course organizers. It's been a very interesting journey for me. It's been an enriching journey, a journey of knowledge, interaction with like-minded persons from around the world during a time of pandemic. So it's very unique. The collective effort put and organizing the course and running the lectures and taking our suggestions as we roll through the course and putting them to action was magnificent. The wealth of knowledge garnered through this course is immense because of the diversity of the speakers you managed to line up for us. You always came with alternative plans when things didn't work out, and these were amazing plans as well. So I appreciate the dynamicity of the course. The diverse array of participants was a point of strength. For me, I learned a lot from my co-students. The majority of us come from academic and practitioner backgrounds, and that was very special. And the added bonus of having this course run online is exceptional. Honestly, in my very personal career path, many years ago, I took the summer school on refugee studies at the University of Oxford. And I can't simulate this course to any experience throughout my life, but that very unique, very rich forum. And it was in person. So thank you. Thanks a million. Congratulations on this level of organization and depth of knowledge. It also comes at a critical juncture of the journey of migration studies. And to me, that's also very important. And on the personal level, I bring together two areas of specialization, global health and migration. So for a while, I had felt distanced from my knowledge and being up to date on migration issues. So thank you very much for leveling up my knowledge and for this privilege and opportunity. It's really very special. I wish to thank my colleagues in Group 25. You are all amazing. We had a chance to work together in fantastic teamwork, and just proving that people can work together when they don't know each other. There is a world of time difference, and each one of us in a continent by ourselves, our schedules are different. So this course has been a display of beating lots of obstacles and making things happen. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you allow me, I wish to make a couple comments. I think I would have highly appreciated more of the outside the IOM viewpoint into the course. So that would have been welcome. We're seeking more and more of the critical thinking from IOM and beyond. So I hope in your next round you consider that. And I wish to build on George's suggestion because sometimes when you go online and search for graduate level programs in this field or that, I think the field of migration and refugee studies is still not considered as a mainstream. So I hope that you would take into consideration perhaps developing an online repository or hub where people can find recommendations or at least listing of programs for certificate programs, degree programs, conferences, and so on. Thank you to ADEPT, where I first learned about this program. Special thanks to all the organizers. I don't want to name anybody because you all have been marvelous, but I feel especially indebted to the patience of Dr. Rakesh, who handled all the administrative chaos from our sides and with great resilience. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paddy, Dr. Binood. I am really grateful for your wisdom and reflections. Everybody, literally. GRFTT, Adept Sisan, thank you, and have a good day, everyone.
Apologies for that. I had to run where the internet, I could catch it. Can you hear me? I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Iman, thank you for those reflections. We take on the suggestions. And I think it is always an honor to just hear from, those who are not deeply, let's say, into the migration space, and also touching on other areas as well as you are on public health. And really, for us, it has been a learning journey also for having you in the room together with other professionals from other disciplines and just engaging into this space. Thank you. And now we are going to move to the presentation of certificates. And after that, we will be hearing some remarks. We already had some remarks from JRFDT. We will get some remarks from Ms. Mirana Rajo Harrison, who is from ADEPT, the Executive Director of ADEPT. She will be sharing her remarks later. And then we will move to the closing. But now this is the moment that the students have been waiting for. And I will ask just for the screen to be shared. We will be reading out the names. We had wished there was an opportunity that people could come up to a stage to pick up a certificate, an opportunity for people to walk up and shake hands, but we don't have that privilege, not this time around. But hoping that you'll be able to see your names. You are welcome to give a clap on the, a virtual clap. You are also welcome to just share in. We know some people could be jeering a little bit in the background through your videos. So those who would like to be visible, you are welcome to be visible. And at this point, I would like to also just introduce Indrani Pal, who started off with us as an intern, and I would now say is very much an integral part of the JRFDT team, particularly on this. She has worked with us not only as a mentor to the groups here, so some of you are familiar with her, but also really helping on the coordination side. And we have been exchanging, I have been disturbing her WhatsApp and her messages. We have been brainstorming about a number of issues. So Indrani, it gives me pleasure to ask you to help us with the first part of it, and I'm happy to continue on the long list that we have. We have over 123 students that are graduating here today with us. And through the PowerPoint presentation, we will be reading out the names. Dr. Sada, I don't see it visibly on my screen. I wondered if it's already started sharing on your side. Is the screen visible?
No.
Oh. Yeah, I think we need to. Dr. Sada, maybe you can just refresh the screen again. Okay, apologies. I think maybe there's just a technical problem on the side. I will try and see if I can. Apologies. Apologies, I'm just going to try and share it from
So
my
Patty,
screen.
while you get the presentation on, I'm sorry, I'm traveling at the moment, but I'll try my best to support you from here. Please excuse me if there's a lot of background music. There's all of this, not music, sorry, noise. I mean, there's music, there's noise, there's all kinds of things going on. But so I'm keeping my video switched off just so everybody can focus. But please excuse the noise in the background if you get this. And thank you for the kind introduction and congratulations to everybody who's graduating today. It's a lot of work that you all put yourselves through, especially with the assignments and also the fantastic team of speakers that we had. So everybody who volunteered, I mean, it's incredible the kind of speakers we get who actually volunteer to come onto this platform and, share their knowledge and their experience with everybody. So congratulations on a job very well done. And thank you for the inputs and suggestions that all of you provided before this. We will try to incorporate it as much as possible, as best as we can, as Patty mentioned as well. I'm going to put my microphone on mute right now, but when the PowerPoint comes on, I'm going to turn it back on.
Thank you, Indrani, for that. And I think sharing also from a mentor's point of view, I think we do have other mentors who are also here with us in a room. We have had the mentor, the mentor of the mentors, Professor Binod is here. Thank you for having joined us and supported us in this journey as well. And also many thanks to the mentors that walked with the students. As you rightly understood, we were ensuring that the process was as rigorous as we could manage, really relying on mentors, but also relying on the students to be able to mobilize themselves. And I'm speaking and talking because we're waiting just for Dr. Sada to sign up. I cannot share a screen because I'm not host. Deba Brata, could you just mute your mic? Thank you. If you could kindly mute your mic. Thank you. Deba Brata, kindly mute your mic. Mr. Ghosh, thank you. So just in the interest of trying to navigate our so I have the screen in front of me, but what I don't have is I'm not enabled yet for me to share the screen. Dr. Sada has just had an issue with his internet, but this is expected. This is it happened to me in the middle of moderation yesterday as well, and just a few minutes ago. So really glad that we have 128 students that are graduating with us. And Indrani, I will ask you to take over in a moment so I can kick off on the list that I have in front of me. Congratulations to Pushpa Parekh, George Nekeom Mami, Abdullahi Amina, Krishna Prasad Pathak, Dinesh KC, Dean Mulozi, Tinashe Chimbidzikai, Alexandra Buneshku, Obnala Solomon, Mohammed Al-Mirzan, Rosaline Chimheno, Rosan Kumar Sa, Ambar Iltez Paz Escalante, Sita Alba, Mary Catherine Y. Lau, Realobaha Setathi, Foster Bila, Akua Nyamekwe Darko, Lineo Johanna Rakaibe, Leila Tasmia, Andrew Mendy, Juana Leticia Servin Kuzman, Ishmael Adjay, Kishley Kirti, Selina Tapa Magar, Aida Ibresedik, Clementine Mahachi, Diana Ntini, Ibrahima Thiam, Nilima Rai, Odunola Oladeji, Yosef Gela, Utpal Dutta, Odukunle Anwoju, Miriam Lungu, Tamara Poletan, Jamie Oscar Salazar, Anuja Tripathi, Alpha Amadou Jallo, Anjali Digra, Asamu Rogers, Eko Mise Lambertine Aureole, Mohammed Hassan Abdullahi, Kimberly Watson, Eugene Teti Kwasi Arie, Professor Bernard, Dr. Sada, apologies, if you could just go two more pages and we're good. So page 10. Just the next one. Okay. Now we go back one more page, apologies. On number 41. Yes. Asamu Rogers, Eko Mise Lambertine Aureole, Mohammed Hassan Abdullahi, Kimberly Watson, Eugene Teti Kwasi Arie. Next page. Dinesh Chand, Showana Disnicha, Mahabubul Alam, Khan Rene Bawe, Alessia Baki, Juliana Askerova, Hugo Guardarama, Maria de Los Angeles Cerda Gonzalez, Tamar Zurabishvili, Wazauna Mahamat Warao. And I'll hand over to Indrani. Indrani, over to you.
Yeah, hi, Patty. Okay, so I am going to do my best as possible. So I think that's the beauty of these programs, that we have students from all over the world, and therefore we end up mispronouncing a lot of the names, but it is in a way really nice. But so please excuse me if I mispronounce your names, but number 50, our 56th student is Daudi Maiga, followed by Muhammad Dean, Jan Bicker, Jose Belisario, Momin Sisao, Uno Musa Nudlovu, Kamil Hamati, Kiam Nimo, Job Bautista, Yusuf Muhammad, Katerina Veliskova, Kalpana Magar, Surmia, Arnob Datto, Sarbeshwara Sahu, Sarah Elkoti, Maubert Ramotsu, Hugo Rigbird, Zafara Eric, Jessica Monteiro, Vikas Dhungana, Kivanuka Shimoni, Ayodeli Ikinribidu, Anuja Mishra, Neelu Khosla, Amardeep Kaur, Tawafuddin Azimi, Lucia Moreno, Angela Coletta, Ashrusha Mainali, Adai Kalam Jesurajan, Anderson Santiago, Mariana Dimo, Anna Teresa Bissem Bell, Katso Mashidiso, Bruno Sarmiento, Iman Ahmed, Joshua Mahande, Noreen Anditi, Olga Koptu, Andrew Mutambo, Anna Marie Falashal, Marshall Ongono, Debobroto Ghosh, V. Arya Ratnam, Leon Buyu, Weldapuram Weride, Richa Kundu, Bharati Maurya, Afroz Khan, Anil Kumar, Diva Roman, Victoria Kapatisi, Teresa Fianco, Suraj Rajan, Tapiwa Mucheri, Abina Ompunsa Bio, Kyo Lin Niang, Elnura Omorkulova Ozierska, Angela Nine, Ilana Wong, Juan Francisco Tenorio, Angela Odai, Miriam Dembo, Mehdi Hassan, Tiani Curie, Valeria Dicuno, Mwambo Chavula, Yochim Sidibi, Larry Ifande, Namge Dolkar, Rashmi, Kamal Sokhun, and those are the names that we have for 128 students graduating today.
A big congratulations to
Congratulations again
we
to all of you. And please excuse our mispronunciations.
Yes, you can say that again in Drani. Congratulations, congratulations, everyone. I will maybe just like to give a few moments to our inaugural speaker. She heard some of the reflections that came from the students, and maybe just for her to give a final word of encouragement before we will ask some remarks from Mirana from ADEPT, Executive Director of ADEPT. Professor Parvati, some inspirational words going forward.
Well, what can I say? I think I'm feeling very inspired. It's wonderful. I have to say, it's absolutely wonderful to know that there are students of such caliber, such experience, and so many different walks of life. To know that, you know, the work around migration is being studied by someone who is a consular officer is just wow. It's fantastic. That is exactly where migration studies should be directed to, that it should be for people who wish to know, you know, how to study migration further. I think it's incredibly heartwarming to know that the work we do as academics, you know, is something that matters, that makes sense and is of interest. So I think the engagement, I have to say that I don't know that I can be inspiring, but I am certainly inspired by these students, and to know that there are 128 fantastic names and people out there in the world from across the world is just a wonderful, heartwarming experience. I can't say what a great Friday afternoon, really. It's fantastic. So thank you. And, you know, Paddy, thank you to everybody for having me, but also really please keep the good work going, and please count on all of us, I'm sure. But, you know, for all the students who've been here, who go on to work on migration and governance, and I'm really touched also to know that they would like different perspectives on migration, because it is really a sensitive issue. It is one that affects, you know, every nation and every country and all people in different ways, and we all have our perspectives and priorities and politics, and I think it is important to listen and know about the diversity of this particular topic and its huge range. So thank you, and we will, I'm sure, cross paths again, all of us, in our shared endeavors to make this a better world for people on the move.
Professor Parvati, thank you so much for sharing those words. Indeed, it's an inspiration to be in this room. At this juncture, I would like to request if we could get some remarks from one of the, the organization, but colleagues that have joined us, and I'm careful to mention some of the colleagues that have joined us from ADEPT from the very beginning when we were thinking around this course. And today we're sitting at the graduation ceremony. And very happy to have had engagement from ADEPT. And I'd like to call upon Ms. Mirana Roja Harrison, who is the Executive Director working on programs in ADEPT, to share her remarks. Mirana, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Paddy. Thank you so much, everyone. It was really for ADEPT a great honor and a pride to be part of this journey, this great journey. And I would like to thank all of you, the JRFDT, CESAN, and IOM, to make it possible. I would like also to congratulate the 128 students they are the next they are our hope now when they will work with on migration. I came late to this celebration. I'm sorry, but I was in a meeting with the board of trustees of ADEPT, and some of the members, some of the trustees of ADEPT have been part of this journey, and they told me that they were very proud to be part of it. They were really happy to be able to share the field experience with the students. And they told me it was very interesting and they would like us to build upon it. So I really hope that our collaboration will continue with GRFDT, with CISAN, and of course with IOM, and also with the students. To the students, you are the change that we need on our road to the IMRF and to the implementation and to the achievement of the Global Compact on Migration. Thank you so much.
Mirana, thank you. I mean, also just being very conscious that we've had, indeed, as we have said, not just, sorry, I just check on the team. Okay, thank you. Please feel free to share your videos and to have your videos on, but it would be great for us to just mute our mic so that we can allow other people to speak. We know that we will have an opportunity. We see some hands coming up. We will have an opportunity for us to engage in a moment as part of this celebratory service or celebratory mode that we're in. But also very conscious indeed that we have had many other people join and support the program. So once again, just, giving our thanks to mentors, but also to those that even participated in supporting some of the projects or research papers that came out of the group assessments. And here ADEPT played really a critical role in connecting concerned students with a number of diaspora organizations to provide information, to be interviewed, to share resources, but also to share back their feedback into some of the research papers. We had some very engaging and exciting sessions. And here I'm thinking about group 31 and also thinking about group 2, where we planned to sit for 40 minutes and 2.5 hours later, it felt like we were cracking at some of the world's problems on diaspora engagement. So that's how engaging it can be. So thank you so much for that, Mirana, for that support that came through and for the continued support. And at this juncture, I would just like to hand over to Professor Benoit to share with us some closing remarks, and then ask Dr. Sada to give us a vote of thanks. And after that, we'll be taking on some more practical questions, and I will be sharing a bit about the next steps. As I can see, the chat is filling up with when are we actually getting our certificates? Well, it's a virtual space, so we'll be explaining to you in a bit as soon as we're done with the main part of the ceremony. Thank you. Professor Benoit.
Thank you, Paddy. Well, it's always difficult to close something. As I said, as we close our doors, we open the windows. So that's what I also gathered from Parvati's comments, saying whether, we will be inspiring or we will be inspired. So that's where I think it's a win-win situation. It has been a fascinating journey of learning in a two-way mode. I think the students or the participants, and some of them are in the center of migration management, like counselors and so on, have given us so much in terms of challenging us, challenging our ideas, and inspiring us to think back and come back again. So I think it was a new challenge, migration governance and diaspora engagement. The topic itself was something new, and that's where I think the novelty lies. And about today's program, I think the suggestions that have come from the students or participants in terms of what lies ahead, what next, in terms of whether this can lead the path to doctoral level engagement. I think it's a fascinating possibilities that we should engage, because we have so many of people, the experts and others in the organizing team, including Professor Parvati Nair, Camellia, and so on from universities, that we can put our heads together and think in terms of creating that link whereby this certificate program can be taken to its next level in terms of higher, qualifications or programs of master's level at MPhil levels of research or doctoral level research. That I think is something is food enough for thought. And that's where I think the comments that have come from participants and my colleagues, and including Iman and so on, it actually takes me back throughout this last 6 months in terms of the intense engagement that we have had in terms of the both way learning. So as I said, it's not closing remark, it's an opening of windows for all of us. Thank you very much, and I wish all of you, those who have graduated today, happy days ahead, and just go ahead and discover more. Bon voyage. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vinod, for those closing remarks. And I would now like to call upon Dr. Sahu. Most of you know him as the convener. You have been receiving a lot of emails. And I really have to come back and just talk about how he is very inspirational for us at GRFDT, really bringing us at the crack of dawn, and sometimes just wondering how many hours actually does he have in his day on top of his very, very busy schedule, but really supporting those of us, particularly on the coordination team, but actually even at the board at GRFDT in driving along a lot of the initiatives. Dr. Sahu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paddy, for this wonderful. Always you are so nice to me and to everybody. In fact, I am not working hard compared to you. You have been so last 6-7 months. You have been, I don't know how to describe you. You have been managing 2 courses, 6 months long, both parallelly, and you have been the center of both the courses. Organizing both the courses are not, is not that easy, So as I also listened to Professor Parvati Nair, Dr. Marina, we all know migrants are like a, web, internet web. Countries like India, migrants go for, 200 countries. And also it hosts almost 50 to 60 countries migrant. Same with Italy and many other countries. So it is nothing less than web. And COVID-19 taught us how it is similar like web. Within a month, the disease spread to every country almost in the world. So this requires a global understanding. As Professor Nair also mentioned, we need to understand this interconnected world. And to understand this, there is nothing bigger, better approach than what we have called both resource person globally, student globally, shared, various, knowledge. And in fact, this is a multi-stakeholder, multidisciplinary, and so many countries are there. So this is a very enriching experience. I thank you, all of you, both resource person and student, to continue, those have continued for last 6 months. And you made us actually to learn a lot as an organization, and also your input will take seriously. I thank Professor Parvati Nair. She has been with us all the time. In fact, last 2 courses she taught gave 2 talks. Other than that, she has been always there in the various meetings, mentoring people, encouraging us. And today she became, she came as a guest speaker. I thank you, Professor Nair, and your inspiring talks, humanness, you brought this humanness issue. I really appreciate the way you have been interacting with us. And I take feedback from my all colleagues, Abhishek and all. Everybody appreciate you because of your humanness. This is
Thank you. No, it's entirely mutual, and I learned so much just from being, in conversation with colleagues in GRFDT, from Professor Binod, whom I can't say how much I have learned about
thank you.
migration.
Thank you so
And
much.
so, his work, his writings, his talks, yours, so many people, and Paddy as well. Amazing. So it's always my privilege and an honor to be part of this conversation.
Thank you so much. I always say to my colleagues in GRBT, it is human relation which should be more important than our academic and other things. Because that is where if you are failing there, all other things of no use actually. So I thank all of you. You have been so cooperative, and Dr. Marina Manke, who has given lots of food for thought. She has been also in our forum several times, and I thank all of you. I thank especially to our resource person, and they are ranging from UN agency to grassroots organization. There is a wide range of resource person who instantly communicate and they agree to come here, and lots of ideas starting from theoretical work to grassroots level work. It is impossible to any university level. I tell you, Professor Nair is in the university, Professor Kadri also, many of us are from university. We don't get this opportunity to listen grassroots worker, even bodies, and so much diversity. So here it is possible, and thank to all our colleagues, academia, policy bodies, government, grassroots level, everybody. So it is a wonderful, platform. All of us we enjoy it, and I thank all our team. All of our team. Professor Khadria is one, all the time. He brings new wisdom to us, inspire us. He's on the top, and he has been since he joined the organization. We are feeling like much more energetic. We are feeling we are guided now. Earlier we are just doing hard work, but now he has given us some kinds of perspective, some kinds of vision, which is very important for us. And thank you, Professor Khadria, for all this. We thank, Professor Camelia, who has been with GRBT also, with Sishan, and she has been a very good, inspiring, person. We know that she speaks less, but that is enough. And Dr. Raj Bordoli and all our, stakeholders from Sisan, from iDiaspora, Dr. Larissa, and Dr. Karain was there earlier. Now we have Mirana from other organization, which we have AGEPT, and all our colleagues, many of you behind the scene, Dr. Rakesh, Dr. Firoz, Abhishek, and many other. And these people are, many of our, we do everyday interaction, and whatever we see that 1.5 hours is a lot more work we do behind, and thanks to all of these people. And finally, whom I should give thanks. It is none other than Paddy. She is the, I can say, center of everything. After, when she took over, she actually made us feel like nothing less than, kind of what I can, marathon. In the sense, 2 programs continuously, parallelly running was impossible. We thought that we cannot do, but Paddy took it head on. And both the things is managing. Many times we are not even visible, we are not even attending. It is Paddy who is managing. Thank you, Paddy, so much. You have done excellent, work, inspired us, and you have been so humanly touched, with the student also, with us also. You are really inspiring. Thank you all, and we'll take the feedback from all students, and we'll be very happy, all of you, if you continuously get in touch with us, promote, because our objectives are same. We should make migration more human, as Professor Nair told. and we should make, certain kinds of impact as academician, as policymaker, as grassroots worker. We can create knowledge, we can create kind of awareness, we can also pressurize the policy bodies. So this is what we should keep doing. There is no end. We have to keep doing all this. So thank you, everybody. And it is a pleasure for me to give vote of thanks. If I miss anyone, kindly forgive me. But many people are there who have been part of this journey. Thank you.
Dr. Sada, thank you so much for sharing that vote of thanks. I take with a lot of humility, knowing that there are many people behind just the face that comes to talk about the things that we present, a lot of brainstorming happening in different rooms. We used to call ourselves the team that used to be talking at 9 o'clock Indian time, Abhishek, Rakesh, Dr. Sada, and just thinking through what is happening around JRFDT, what are we putting together? And a lot of that inspiration comes from conversations like that. Many hours to someone who we started off knowing from the virtual platform, and now I think I can call her a friend, Dr. Larissa Lara. Many hours as well in her Brussels evening, thinking aloud, what do we do? How do we make it better for the students? And we always thought, should we do an evaluation? And we realized we were constantly, evaluating and asking ourselves questions. So thank you also to Dr. Larissa Lara, who is not here with us, and sends her congratulations to all of you. You have been seeing her in the classroom, but you have also seen the engagement that she has had in bringing a lot of resources to us here. Gregory and Clara from ADEPT, thank you. The quiet faces that have been very instrumental in bringing diaspora organizations, but a lot of input, but also trying to draw students into that space as well. I thought actually that Elnura had a very interesting story, I think, to tell, and I would like her to be the one to say it because it is her story. And before I call Elnura to come over, also to say many thanks to Indrani, also many hours. So as you can hear, the virtual space has been, yes, no, it has really been, really been great. Gregory, thank you, Clara, Larissa, and all the others who are in the background. Elnura, I think, has a very interesting story to tell us about. Elnura, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Paddy, and thank you for this great ceremony. Finally, we did it, and I'm happy for everybody here tonight. So yeah, I briefly have written in the chat, just shared the story. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to participate in this great course, which is really helped me in my research work, in making friends with our group. We were working like the last 3 months. So yeah, and it was also the great opportunity to go further because during our work on our research paper, we reached the Global Diaspora Confederation. That's a very great global initiative, which was inspired also by IOM and other UN agencies who are taking care of diasporas and taking care about the voices they raise and to be heard. So yes, and finally, I'm a member of it, and I really inspire all the participants, students, teachers, scholars to join the organization, whether if you are representing the diaspora somewhere or just want to volunteer in such kind of activities, because we are also taking care about the humanitarian issues, particularly on the case of Ukraine and those all the consequences the conflicts bringing, and just raising awareness about the diaspora, what they are doing and what they can do actually, and all about the issues that were raised by professors tonight, that the migration is about the opportunities, it's about the human, it's a human-based and human aimed for development for each people, country, and the global entire. So yes, thank you again for the opportunity to speak a bit, and thank you all the organizers. And I hope that the next editions will involve us as a first participant of the course. Maybe we can do it also voluntarily to help you, because all of you were doing this almost 8 months program voluntarily. So we are, I think, everybody will be happy to join next events. If you need any help, we are here. So just we'll be happy to join the next editions. Yeah, good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Nura, thank you for that. I think that was important to highlight that, you know, not just within JRFDT, but, you know, we found people engaging in a research and then, you know, really going and taking the next step. So encouraging everyone that needs those kind of connections, please get in touch with us of how we can help you further. Speaking about further, two very important things for the next steps. Number one, certificates. We are a virtual classroom. We'll be sending you the certificates virtually. As you have noticed in the Telegram group, but also in the Google Classroom, we have shared the list of participants. We'll share another one because we need to get your names correct. So we ask you, we'll ask you again in the next email after we've collected all the comments coming from everyone, you know, to verify all the names because we would like to have that as a one action done. And Dr. Rakesh will be handling this one, but then we will be sending out the list again and asking you to just verify if your names are spelled correctly before we will send over the email. So it's just a couple of weeks. I think within a week or so, we're able to send the certificate. So again, back into the student hands. For those that submitted assignments and have the so-called provisional acceptance, we had agreed, I think it was also, I would say, a collective agreement that this would be on the basis of the assignment. So some of you, the resource persons, the mentors have come back to you with comments and have requested that you complete the assignment. I think it would be a good step for you to finish it. And that's why you have the provisional acceptance. So we may delay a bit on yours, but this is really entirely in your hands. But we did not want to drag the process further for everyone else. Otherwise, this graduation ceremony would not be taking place today, but later on. So please, if you have already gotten indication and everybody knows who's supposed to be submitting your final papers, not just the editing, but really the final text, there are some who still have some time. We would like to give you that opportunity. And then there are those who just did not participate in any group and would like to graduate. And that's quite difficult for us. As you can imagine, many students have been journeying and your colleagues would look at us and say, well, then we shouldn't have done a group assessment because we were equally busy or we had similar emergencies. So we would like to take that on a case-by-case basis. And we're working around to make sure that you are able to participate. So it really is the last call. And after that, we would need to close it. Otherwise, we have an issue institutionally as well as also just logistically. So those are the three announcements. If you were fitting in any of these categories in terms of needing clarification, please send me an email with copy to your mentor for us to resolve them. But for those papers that have been finalized, it is difficult for us to just, it is not JRFDT, Adept, your mentor to say that you are part of the paper. It is your colleagues that have been writing. And so we cannot simply attach you to a paper. We would need to now get permission from the group authors. And that's very important. So with that said, I hope we would have answered some question, but would like to just close the ceremony so that we have a shorter video for the graduation itself that is being live streamed on YouTube and also will be made available for everyone. And now we would like to take a group photo and then we will open up for the session in a moment for us to have just 5 minutes or so of a question and answer. So if people could turn on their videos, Dr. Sada, you have the camera ready.
Yes, it is automatically recording, so no problem.
Okay. All right.
All have opened their video. Kindly unmute your video. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And we hope that this sets you off for a good weekend. I think in Asia Pacific, you're ready for bed. And Europe and Africa is just heading into the evening. And good morning and good afternoon to those in the Americas. Thank you so much for having joined us today. And we will stay in touch. The Google Classroom, yes, remains available. And we can always communicate in there. It's once you are once you're in the classroom, always in the classroom. Feel free to share. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Everybody and everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much to everybody.
Thanks a lot.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. Paddy ma'am, special thanks to you. And Rajan sir for
Dr.
especially
Nelu,
being
thank
there.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks,